You're watching Talk, presented by United Auto Sales. And good evening. Thanks for joining us right here in Chalk Talk. Corey Miller here with you. Well, we kind of making that next step. There was a scrimmage over the weekend, media day, all that fun and good stuff. We're here to break it down. And I got my partner with me back in studio, JC Sherbert, 24/7 sportsthebigspur.com. And JC, we finally got some full pad action. I don't like all the short and t-shirt All-Americans. I must say that. I mean, I can't really even though practice has started, I can't get caught up into guys that are running around and in the shorts and t-shirt. I'm glad Spurrier closed the practices in the beginning, because what happens, everybody want to tell you how great this receiver is doing, this player is doing, because they're looking good while they're in shorts. But this past weekend, it was clacking, which means some pads on.
Yeah, you know it. And you know as well as I do, Corey, you played the game a lot longer than I did. Every year there are 2 or 3 guys in shorts and helmets that look fantastic.
Yeah.
And then the pads come on, and it gets to be October, and that same guy's sitting way on the end of the bench with a clean uniform because he's never played.
Exactly.
You know, it's a different game when the pads come on. I think they're putting in a lot of work, obviously, with the defense and offense, and the more physical activity they can get as far as hitting and stuff like that, the better, and the better it's going to prepare them. And certainly it's more football when they're hitting as opposed to just out there running around doing 7-on-7.
Well, Steve Spurrier opened up practice for the first time so the fans and the media could get a chance to see these guys in uniform, and not like with Dabo reference, the guys look good getting off the bus. Well, that don't mean anything how you look getting off the bus. It's about, can you execute, can you play, can you out-physical the other team. But this South Carolina team does look good. I want to go back just even from the workouts from the summer. And these strength coaches spend more time with the players than the coaches do, because they have that time to do that. So it's all about the training. You get to see these guys. And then on Saturday, the first contact practice, these guys, from overall what I've read, what I've heard, that I think the old ball coach was pretty pleased with the first performance.
And I'll say this, Corey, it's very noticeable when you look at the team as opposed to how they looked in the spring. I was at quite a few spring practices. There were a lot of guys that were completely out of shape that really had to have a great summer physically, especially on the defensive line, physical conditioning, that type of thing. And from the looks of them, it looks like a lot of them did, and they made progress, and that's a positive sign when you're trying to rebuild one side of the ball and sort of rebuild another too on offense. And they're really rebuilding both sides of the ball if you think about it. And so that's very important, because guys have to get better, and they have to get more physical, and they have to get more ready to play. And it looks like a lot of the Gamecocks have put in the work over the summer.
Yeah, they look really good. Of course, you're talking about getting in shape, and they're riding this golf cart thing over to practice. Should jog over there. I'm just kidding. But here's the main thing. Everybody's talking quarterbacks, of course. It's Connor Mitch's, it's Lorenzo Nunez show. I don't think Scarnecchia Spurrier can talk about him. We can talk about Perry Orth to get the scholarship. Kudos to those guys for working hard, staying with the program. But let's be real about it. Everybody wants to know who's going to quarterback. And there's 2 guys. It's Connor Mitch, it's Nunez. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to be one of those 2, or maybe both. But when you look at it, you want to see them in live contact situations. And from what Spurrier said, he thought Mitch played decent. And these guys still got a ways to go.
Exactly. And what I think will happen here in the coming weeks is I think you're going to see Connor Mitch, Lorenzo Nunez probably start taking more and more of the reps. It makes no sense to rep 4 guys if you have 4 inexperienced guys and you got to get ready to play a game. You need to probably rep 2 of them, and I think that's going to happen as we move forward. And I think my personal opinion is it will be Connor Mitch and it'll be Lorenzo Nunez. You have Connor Mitch, a drop back passer who can run at times. He's not a statue back there in the pocket. But then Nunez does some special things with his feet, can come in certain packages right away. And in time, I think is really going to put a lot of pressure on Connor Mitch.
Wow.
I think it's going to be a situation where maybe not even this year, maybe by the end of this year, but over time, Lorenzo Nunez's skill set is just vastly superior in terms of the types of things he can do. Now, watch him never beat Connor Mitch out, but I think that when you look at it, it's going to get interesting regardless of how good Connor Mitch is, simply because of the package that Nunez brings to the table in the run game. He has a strong arm. He can escape pressure. He's 6'4", 215 or whatever. He's not the 6'2", 185-pound guy he was in high school. So this is a guy that could really be a really good player at South Carolina. And I think we'll see that sooner rather than later in certain situations.
Well, I think the big thing that you're looking for when Steve Spurrier talked about the maturity of Nunez, I mean, standing in the pocket, you know, understanding the playbook, all that's good, but we'll see when the live bullets start. But here's what the HBC had to say following Saturday's scrimmage.
We're looking forward to whatever happens this year. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen, but we think we got a team that can be very competitive with everybody we play. And obviously, the first one's against North Carolina in about 3 weeks or so, and we'll start game planning for them 10, 12 days before that game. Right now, we're just practicing what we're going to do offensively, defensively, special teams, and hopefully try to find the best players to put out there.
Yes, this team got a long way to go. There's a lot of question marks. Quarterback definitely is the biggest concern, but you do have some good positive things, I think, when you look at Farrell Cooper, all SEC All-American. You look at Brandon Wiles, has been around. Now he's played behind some really good backs, but this is a chance he's going to have David Williams, who's had some carries already, so you have some experience. Brandon Shell on the offensive line. So you got some experience mixed with some youth on offense. But, you know, after the break, we're going to come back, Jason. We're going to talk about Farrell Cooper and some of these other guys. But this offense, I think, has the potential to be really, really good, because when you look at some of the younger guys, they have some explosive players. And you know this because that's what you do, recruiting. They got some athletes over there.
Exactly, and I think that the receiving core will kind of figure itself out as we move forward. I think DJ Neal, Jalen Christian are 2 guys from the freshman class that can come in right away and contribute at receiver in time. It takes guys a little while to get used to this system because it's different at wide receiver than just about any other passing system in the country. You know, running back, David Williams, Brandon Wiles, both of those guys can be ridden, I think. I think South Carolina's going to have to run the ball regardless this year. They can't drop back, throw it 45 times a game like they did last season, just because of the dynamics of the team and the talent they have at running back and things of that nature. The offensive line certainly is something. I've been on the record at times this preseason saying I think the offensive line this year may be better than last year. That's going out on a limb. So, yeah, it's certainly going to be a work in progress, but there are pieces in place. It just has to come together, you know, and that's kind of part of why you practice.
Well, you got to practice. You got to get better. When we come back, with David Williams, with Brandon Wiles, Farrell Cooper, we'll talk more offense after the break.